From the Fantasy Armchair, it is the Fantasy TyRant. Hey there, fellow fantasy football freaks. Welcome back to the Fantasy Armchair. Out on the road once again, this time at Mount Vernon in Virginia, the home of our first president, George Washington. But he owned slaves, so he can go fuck himself. Don't worry, I took a dump in the hedge maze back there. Anyway, it's been a crazy preseason so far, hasn't it? And in so many ways, I wish I didn't have to talk about. It is a wild time to be a fantasy analyst right now, hence the delay on some things. The news changes every day, and I gotta keep changing what I'm gonna say. I'm going in 1,000 directions. I feel like the chick from the movie Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, because I'm literally being needed for everything, everywhere, all at once. Anyway, you didn't come here to listen to me, bitch. You came here to get some late round sleepers to help you crush your fantasy drafts. As the last week leading up to the regular season, this is where the real fantasy managers draft. And I got your back, don't worry. All I ask from you in return is to click the little thumbs up and like this video. Share it with everyone you know who plays fantasy football. And most importantly, smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. Once I hit over 1,000 subs, I'll do that double Grandprize Giveaway, where you can win this here signed Keenan Allen jersey, or the jersey of a star player on your favorite team. That's right, 2 prizes. They call me TyRant TyRant. Yeah, no they don't. Anyway, now if you're a Patreon member, you get free entries into that contest, plus bonus content and one-on-one advice to help you throughout the draft and beyond. For more details on that, click on the link to my Patreon page there in the description. As always, I thank you very much for your support. Now with all that shit out of the way, the fantasy draft isn't won in the early rounds. Of course, all those guys are good picks because they're the best players in the league. It's in the later rounds where you get those steals and sleepers. That's what helps you win your league. No, you don't win your league in the draft, but you'll be off to a great start if you take advantage of some sneaky depth. And that's where sleepers come in. It's getting those sleepers early that helps you dominate your league. Imagine in a couple weeks when these guys are on waiver wire lists and your league mates are going to the waiver wire going, where the fuck is he? And you're like, oh yeah? I already got him. You better pay up, bitches. Now I'm going to go over some running backs and wide receivers that you can get in the late rounds that'll make you look like a fantasy genius. And more importantly, help you win your games so you can eventually win your championship. And all the big money that comes with that. So let's hop right into it. Now first up, let's talk about the running backs. Before I get to the sleepers though, I want to talk about a couple guys who were on this list, but I had to swap them out because of things that happened over the weekend. Number 1, Brian Robinson. As we all know, Robinson was the victim of an attempted carjacking when he was shot twice and is currently recovering in the hospital. Thank goodness he's going to be okay, and a full recovery is expected. The hashtag TyRant Gang thoughts, healing vibes, prayers, and everything else goes out to Robinson and his family, and we wish him a speedy recovery. I really hope this is just a small hiccup when it becomes a successful career in the NFL, and that great things are still yet to come. That being said, I had him as a sleeper that you could get in the later rounds, but now, unfortunately, at least until we get some details, you're waiting for him to recover before picking him up off the waiver wires. According to the fantasy doctors, he could miss 6 to 12 weeks depending on where he was wounded. I'll likely have more information when I do my live rankings update show later in the week. Now the other guy I want to talk about is someone that I've been calling a sleeper since before he was drafted. And I've been even more glowing about his year 1 potential since the draft. And now, in preseason, he looks like a fucking man beast. And he's skyrocketing up the draft boards. I'm of course talking about Dameon Pierce. 1 month ago, I got him in the 21st round of a dynasty league. Now, you can't even get him in like the 7th round of a redraft league. He was going undrafted in most leagues before the preseason games, but now he's being drafted as an RB2. That's almost too high on him. I do think he's going to be getting RB2 numbers consistently eventually, so long as he's the starting back for the Texans. But he can no longer be considered a sleeper because everyone's all over this guy, like the IRS is all over fantasy commissioners' Venmo accounts. Sorry, it's not funny, it's just relatable. Anyway, if you've been paying attention and watching my shows, you've already picked up this guy in your drafts, and now you look like a fucking savage. You're welcome. But for those of you still needing a draft, you're gonna have to reach in the 7th round for this guy. He's no longer a bargain. He's like the nerdy girl in high school who you run into later on and you realize she's glowed the fuck up. Yeah, you missed your chance with that one. Well, anyway, let's talk about some late round sleepers at the running back position I actually really like. Remember, these are guys that take late. Don't be reaching up into single digit rounds for these guys, alright? These are late round guys whose ADP is above 25 for running backs, but are worth stashing in your fantasy league. So let's start with my little baby boy, Chase Edmonds. Now, as some of you know, I've been talking about this guy for a while. I talked about his potential. I talked about him being overlooked by Cliff Kingsbury and the Arizona Cardinals. But now, he's finally on a team that respects him as the #1 guy for the Miami Dolphins. He's finally getting a starting role. I'm so proud of my boy. He's coming off the board as the number 28 running back in drafts this season. But last season, for all running backs who had over 100 carries, Chase Edmonds ranked number 6 in yards per carry at just over 5. Miami ranked 18th in rushing attempts per game, so basically right in the middle at 26 rushes per game. Edmonds could easily get 20 of those, and that's 100 yards and 10 fantasy points right there. He's also considered a pretty good pass-catching back, and last season, Myles Gaskin was top 10 in targets, so we know they like to throw to the RB in Miami. Edmonds had a better catch rate than Gaskin, and is considered a much better rusher all around. He could easily get over 5 catches per game, and that's another 5 points in PPR. That's easily like 15 plus points per game before you even factor in touchdowns. He's already a wide receiver 15. Now, of course, he likely won't get 100 yards for every game or 5 catches consistently, but those numbers can fluctuate up and down, and once you factor in touchdowns, top 20 running back numbers could be a possibility. I think he's at least a top 25 running back, and is still in the 9th or 10th round where he's been going. He'll have other running backs to contend with, like Myles Gaskin and Raheem Mostert, but the Dolphins have invested a lot in Edmonds, and it's clear that they intend to use him as a lead back. I think he gets a little more of the share in Miami than he did in Arizona, especially with the news just coming out that the Dolphins released Sony Michel. And that'll make him a solid, high-end flex option or low-end RB2 rather than just a bye-week filler as he's been drafted. So show my little baby boy Chase some respect and pick his ass up. Some other sleepers I like. Fantasy owners just kicked Michael Carter to the curb like a mistress who just got caught by the wifey slobbering her husband's knob once Breece Hall was drafted to the Jets. But apparently these fantasy owners haven't been paying any attention. The Jets have pretty much all but said that this is going to be a committee. And while we know that Breece Hall has the talent to eventually be the top guy in New York, this season, at least for now, he's splitting time with Carter, who's been a solid young running back in his own right. He's currently coming off as the 44th running back in drafts, going undrafted in about 25% of fantasy leagues, whereas Breece Hall is going as a top 10 running back. It just makes no sense. Carter is potentially a top 30 running back, and you can get him in the last couple rounds of most drafts. Another guy that I liked as my double deep danger dive last season was Ramondre Stevenson. Yeah, he's like the Isaiah Pacheco of last season, the rookie who came out of nowhere to kill in preseason. Yeah, well, while everyone else is humping Pacheco's leg, why don't you make the smarter move and pick up Stevenson, who's already splitting time with Damian Harris with the ones in Foxborough. Harris is being taken 20 spots above Stevenson for some fucking weird-ass reason. Stevenson is explosive, quick, and he's worked on his fumbleitis, so I can see him supplanting Harris as the 1A of this committee. He's currently going as the RB35, and that's just dumb. Top 30 guy here, no doubt, likely even top 25. I'd have him pegged even higher if he wasn't in Bellatrix's goofy-ass offense. You can get him in the late rounds and have a solid flex option by the middle of the season, if not sooner. And that brings me to my double deep danger dive at the running back position this season, Tyler Allgeier, or is it Algier, Algiera? I don't know what it is. Whatever it is, I like this kid. Cordero Patterson had us all shitting on collective drawers last season. He came out of nowhere to be the RB1 the first few weeks of the season. Now he's back with the Falcons this year, but he's going to be more of a gadget guy, I think. And the Falcons needed a traditional running back since Mike Davis ended up being a dud, and they shipped his ass off. And they replaced him with this rookie, Tyler Allgeier, or Algier, or whatever the fuck it is. Now I talked this guy up in my top 10 rookies to draft overall. I talked him up in the rookie running backs to draft. I've been talking about this kid for a while. I love him. And I'm telling you, he could supplant Cordero Patterson as the #1 running back for the Atlanta Falcons. No, you're not starting him right away, even in deep leagues, but in deep leagues, in best ball, in dynasty, he's worth picking up in the late rounds. Going outside the top 50, this guy's got top 40, maybe even top 30 potential. He blistered defenses at BYU with 275 rushes for 1,611 yards, averaging 4.16 yards after contact. Good enough for 10th in the nation. Yeah, he's going to have a little uphill battle against some mediocre veteran backs. But it's not as steep of a climb as his running back 53 ADP suggests. Worth picking up in best ball, or at the taxi spot in your dynasty, a bench stash in deep leagues, and at least an eye on him in all other leagues. So there's the running back sleepers. In addition to that, of course, you want your usual handcuffs like Alexander Madison, Khalil Herbert, James Robinson, Tony Pollard, and Kenny Gainwell. Those are the top handcuffs right there. Now for the wide receivers. These are guys that are going outside the top 35 wide receivers in ADP. And the first guy I want to talk about is Christian Kirk. Now can someone tell me why the flying fuck the top wide receiver target for a young sophomore QB and is only going as the wide receiver 39 in fantasy drafts? Are you all on goofballs? What the fuck? I've been a Christian Kirk fan since he came into the league, and I've seen his potential. It's the logjam at wide receiver in Arizona that kept him from being the star he's meant to be. But this kid passes the eye test, and he does his damage at the slot. And so far, it seems the Jags are ready to utilize him at his strength. Chenault just got shipped out to the Panthers, and Marvin Jones is all Marvin Jonesy. And Jamal Agnew head back to special teams. Christian Kirk will be the main target for Trevor Lawrence as the Jags look to put that much maligned 2021 season behind them. New coach, new offense, and Christian Kirk is one of the top guys that they acquired in the offseason. He's a top 30 guy, mark my words. He'll be a wide receiver 3 with upside, and you can get him in the double-digit rounds of your draft, so do it. Some other guys I like. Behind star wide receiver Stephon Diggs and the super hyped Gabe Davis is a guy who could break into the top 30 this season, even as a wide receiver 3 on his own team. And no, it ain't Jamison Crowder. Ready to take on the Cole Beasley role, it's Isaiah McKenzie. Playing the wild card role. Wild card, bitches! Yeah! Last season, as the gadget guy out of the slot, McKenzie turned some heads in the fantasy playoffs, hauling in 11 of 12 targets for 125 yards and a touchdown, scoring over 29 fantasy points in the process in Week 16. Sure, it was a one-time deal, but now he'll have a chance to shine as a top slot guy for the Bills, as long as he continues to stave off Crowder. This could bring some bountiful returns for fantasy owners, as McKenzie is mostly going undrafted as the wide receiver 65. Could fly off the waiver wire after the first couple weeks, so get ahead of the game, or at least keep your eye on him. Another guy that I like, and I've been big on since last season, is Josh Palmer. Palmer scored a tutty in all 3 games he started last season, and in the Chargers' pass-heavy offense, he's now the third wideout behind Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. The 2021 third-round pick has shown the chops to be a star, and as the wide receiver 3 in this pass-first scheme, he'll get a more consistent opportunity to show his quality this year. In a somewhat small sample size, the 6'1", 210 Palmer has sported a 100% contested catch rate on 8 targets, as his ability to out-physical cornerbacks is similar to Allen and Williams, but he's quick as a hiccup too, and has solid hands. With the opportunity to shine as a wide receiver 3 in a pass-heavy offense, Palmer could be a waiver wire darling after the first couple weeks. Say fuck you to the rest of your league and get him in the late rounds now. And my double deep danger dive at wide receiver is Devin Duvernay. Double deep danger dive Devin Duvernay. That's too many D's. Anyway, this is a guy I've been talking about having a breakout here for the last couple years. I knew it was a matter of time, and now he's finally crawled his way up to a starting position at wide receiver for the Ravens. He'll be the number 2 wide receiver behind Rashard Bateman. With Hollywood Brown out of the picture, Duvernay's gonna get his chance to haul in some balls. So why the hell is he being chosen as the number 90 wide receiver? Oh my god, are you kidding me? He may be just a deep ball specialist, but he's gonna have better numbers than that. I mean, you can get this guy for free, even in deep leagues. In 16-team leagues, he could turn into a solid flex option that no one saw coming. Except for this guy, you heard it here first. You can tell all those other jabronis that the "no one saw it coming" comment is a load of bullshit. This guy saw it coming, and that's why you stick with me. You let them know, hey, the TyRant knew it the whole time, you talentless dickless ass clown?
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
Devin Duvernay's about to be a thing. At least enough to draft as a top 60 wide receiver. There's some other guys I like, yeah. I like Gabe Davis. And of course Rashad Bateman, Alec Pierce, Elijah Moore, Sky Moore, Rondale Moore, all the Moores. The more the merrier. Other stupid Moore jokes, whatever you want to throw in. A lot of these guys you can't really consider sleepers anymore, so they're not on the list. Brandon Ayuk could be a sleeper too. That connection with Trey Lance, that could be a real thing. Watch out for that. Romeo Dubes, not really buying it yet. It took Devontae Adams like 4 years to become a 1,000+ yard receiver. I think there's gonna be some time and room to grow before Dubes goes on my list. Unlike the rest of you, I'm not quite in love with Sweet Romeo. Julio Jones could see a revitalization with Tom Brady, at least for a year. He's worth the stash as well. Anyway, that's it for the sleepers. Hope that helps. Hope you enjoyed it. If you like what you saw, click that thumbs up for me. I appreciate it. Hit subscribe if you haven't. And if you want a pocket guru to help you in your drafts and help you win every single week, click on that Patreon link down there in the description, and I'll help you out whenever you have a burning fantasy football question. I'll be back later in the week with my top 10 players to avoid, as well as my live show where I'm going to go over my updated draft rankings for the last time. Real football's coming soon. Stay tuned for all of that. Until then, I'm out. Peace.